been any rebates to the customers. We have 20 municipal contracts out of our division and 2 township contracts, and none of them have a rebate. None of them have a reopener if the value of the material plummets either.
Okay.
So it's sort of a business risk, so to speak.
Well, I'm just trying to figure
Yeah,
in with the
of
prices
course.
with
It-
other
it's- it-
companies if they
yeah.
do that or not. So,
No, in fact, they don't.
okay. Thank you.
Alderman Police?
Yeah, going to the fuel surcharge. I mean, I deal with fuel surcharges in the trucking industry. And some of these guys, they put them on, they never come off. I know the company I work for, we don't accept fuel surcharges at all. It's contracted price. I'm not a big fan of those. But when we're negotiating this contract, I see right now in year 5, it's 2098. I mean, is there going to be an automatic increase? Are they going to hold their price a little bit? I mean,
Don't know.
we want to say okay right now, and
I-
they can come in. I don't know.
I don't think the purpose of tonight's meeting is to set specific parameters for the kind of rates that they're going to charge us. I think the purpose of the meeting that I ask for is to have the council to give us either the conceptual go-ahead to negotiate a contract extension, or to say, no, we're not interested in a contract or an extension, let's go back out and rebid it. That's the determination I'd like to have coming out of this meeting. Past that, we haven't even talked to these guys about actual numbers yet. And I think it's premature to do that until you decide, do you want us to start spending the time to negotiate a new contract, or do you want us to just bid it out?
Are you also looking for the term? So if we're looking at an extension, would you like us to say 1 year, 2 year? What is it?
That would be helpful, so I had some degree of a parameter there. I mean, we had a 5-year deal last time. If you're happy with the price, if you're happy with the service, I think probably a 3 to 5 year extension would probably be appropriate. If you think that's too long, tell us so, and we'll start from that battleground. I mean, in my opinion, it's always easier to negotiate a longer term deal than it is a shorter term. First of all, you've got some numbers you can lock in on, and you've got some degree of certainty. Secondly, you don't have to go through the negotiation process every 3 years. If I had my way, union contracts would be for 5 years as opposed to 3, because you just get more certainty in life when you've got something that you can hang your hat on. I think 3 to 5 would probably be appropriate. If you don't think so, let us know and we'll go from there.
Alderman Eugene Wesley?
2 questions. Do you also haul for Itasca?
Yes,
And do you happen to know the price?
the prices are roughly comparable. Addison, Itasca, Wooddale, Bensonville, the prices might be within. They're roughly comparable. I couldn't tell you the exact number.
My question to Wally, you just asked us to, if I'm not mistaken, the way you're asking us to approve this extension on whatever term it is when we haven't even negotiated a price.
I think to authorize the staff to negotiate.
For extension to move forward with this
Right. And if we come back to you with some prices that you think are inappropriate, or if you think they're too high, you can either ask us to go back to the table and continue to negotiate, or if we get to a point where we're at an impasse, then we say to these guys, sorry, we can't cut a deal. We're going to go back out and bid it out. It doesn't keep us from stopping the process at any time at all. If it turns out that we're at odds with these folks and can't come to a conclusion, we stop it. We start the rebidding process.
So more or less, I'm sorry.
Okay, but what Mr. Douthwaite is asking us is, do you conceptually agree to try and work it out with Allied Waste instead of going out to bid? Can they sit at the table and try and work things out? Are we okay with keeping them on for let's say 3 more years. And if we're not, if we're dead set on going out to bid, then we should really tell them now.
Really need to tell us now. If you're dead set on going out to bid, you need to let us know by the end of the year.
Well-
Because we need to give them their notice, and we need to start the process of putting the bid specs together and getting it out to all the other haulers.
Alderman Eugene Wesley.
I have no problem to have them sit down and start negotiation price. But what I'm having one to suggest is, again, we are only asking him, if I'm mistaken, we're asking staff to go ahead and negotiate a price with him and then bring it back. And if after those prices come back, if we don't like it, then we could go out for bid.
Right,
Right.
Okay.
right.
Okay, but I was getting too,
No.
Okay,
no.
so-
I mean, and the discussion we had with these guys a couple of weeks ago was, look, we're going to give you notice that we want to extend, and we're going to give you that notice within the 4-month time frame we have to extend. If for some reason we come to March and we're close, but we're not quite there yet, we'll continue the contract on a month-by-month basis until we get a deal. And if we don't, we say at that stage of the game, sorry, but we're giving you your 4 months' notice, and we're going to start the bidding process. And unless I'm speaking erroneously for those guys, at the time we met, that seemed to be acceptable to both parties.
okay, so you're only asking for our direction, if I'm, make sure I'm right, to start negotiation with BFI to continue with the contract,
With Allied,
with LI.
yes.
Okay, that's fine.
And I
Alderman-
think when, at the end of the day, you're going to find a contract in front of you that is competitive with our other cities, that's competitive with what they've been charging us in the past, and is not going to change a whole lot. And as I indicated earlier, DMMC is putting together a countywide survey of the rates that are charged, and we ought to have that by the end of the month, and that'll give us some good data to go from.
Alderman Police.
Well, they're looking at these comparisons, so I see one city's about $3.50 less per month. So that first year in our new contract, we might get a rollback on prices, right?
Things we'd explore with them is, why is Bloomingdale a couple, $3 less than
$3.50.
the other cities? Is there a reason for that? Is it because they don't have recycling? There may be a number of reasons for that. I mean, we haven't gotten into that level of detail with these guys, and like I said, this is just some comparables that Brad got on the basis of a couple phone calls. When we get that countywide survey by the end of the month, we'll have a lot more data to go on.
Alderman Roy Wesley.
Wally, if the negotiations go beyond the cutoff date of the contract, does price stay the same at 2098? Or I didn't read this contract. Is there a fluctuation of?
Right
price?
now, that number's only good until the end of 2010. We haven't talked about what happens if it goes past that. Obviously, that's something that we'd have to talk about and come to some sort of an agreement on. If you look at those numbers, they went up 5% the first 2 years of the contract, and they went up 4% each of the last 3 years of the contract. And if they came to us and said, look, we need some sort of a kicker in April of 2010 to tide us over until we can get a contract, we'd talk about what that might be and what might be appropriate. I don't think either of us are in this on a gotcha kind of situation. Like I said, the citizens seem to be happy with the service that they're providing. The price seemed to be competitive. And I think we're both comfortable with sitting down over the table and negotiating out an extension that benefits both of us.
Okay.
Alderman Shockey.
Can I change the direction we're going a little bit? I agree to do what the manager's suggesting, but I've had a problem. I've been told by the guy picking up the garbage that if the foam drinking cups, the foam containers, he couldn't take for recycling. And on the list here, this is accurate. This is what he is supposed to take on Exhibit A, minimum recycled materials to be collected.
Page 20, I believe.
Yes, page 20.
Minimum.
A, the minimum,
Mr. Alderman, in point of fact, there is no market currently for number 6. I mean, we should be accepting it, but unlike any other material on the list, there's a viable market for every other material on the list. There is no market currently for food grade.
What I'm saying is we need to know what we can put in
Right.
recycling and what
I
we
would have to
cannot.
modify the list, in any, to remove number 6, because there is no current market for food grade.
Okay, I'm sorry I brought it up then because we've been putting it in, even though he says we haven't, we should. One other is I hear oftentimes telephone directories aren't accepted.
They
Is
are.
that so?
They're acceptable.
Okay,
There's
thank
a-
you.
there's a
That's
good
all.
market for them.
Forget about the first part.
Okay.
Any other comments? Okay, so would someone like to make the motion to agree with staff going into discussion to extend with Allied Waste?
I'd like to make that motion and make it for at least 3 years. And depending on the prices that our manager can come back with, perhaps up to 5 years as we did last time.
Is there a second? Oh, go ahead.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, there's a first and a second. Anything else on the question? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you for coming out. Thank you. Next item, while others are coming in, is the report and recommendation on the Sounds of Summer. And I take it, Mr. Murmas, that you're going to walk us through this one. We'll give a minute until the others come in. Sure. Sure. I'm going to adjourn for 5 minutes. Or recess for 5 minutes. Okay. I'm calling back to order the Finance and Administration Committee meeting of November 12, 2009. We are reconvening to item, and will the minute taker please reflect, same members are present. And we are moving to item number 7, which is the report and recommendation of the Sounds of Summer concert series. Mr. Murmas?
Thank you, Alderman
Can
Winger.
you put all in return, the two that left?
I'm sorry to interrupt, and please reflect that the two aldermen, Alderman Lewiton and Alderman Coles, have returned as well from recusing themselves on item number 6. Mr. Murmas?
Thank you. In an effort to improve the efficiency of special events in the city, staff was asked to re-examine the Sounds of Summer concert series. After looking and re-examining the series, staff noticed that there were 2 major problems. One of the problems was we were having a low attendance number to the concerts, and also the costs of the concerts didn't seem to balance with the attendance that we were getting at these concerts. Staff did talk to the Park District, since they're partners with us for the Sounds of Summer, and we got their input, and they kind of were saying the same things about the Sounds of Summer concert, that they were disappointed in the attendance, and they thought the costs really didn't, justify, for that, that amount of attendance at the event. The Park District Director did take it to his board already, just to kind of get their input on what they thought of the concert series. And they suggested some changes. They'd like to cut back on the series. Instead of 4 dates in the summer, do it for 2 dates to save some costs. They'd also like to move the concert series over to France and Grove, make it a smaller type picnic type scenario. By moving it over there, there's costs that can be saved on not having to hire a company to put up the stage and the sound system like we do now in Town Square. or at Franson Grove, their idea is to do it at like the gazebo that they already have over there. They're suggesting that they're offering to take complete control of the planning of the Sounds of Summer series, which that's a significant cost savings to the city because of the staff time it takes to plan it as it currently is constituted, the 4 dates with the stage, the sound system, and it's pretty much the second biggest time consumer of special events besides the Prairie Fest right now. So staff would like it if the Park District took this over. And with their suggestion, the city would be saving costs as well because we're scaling back, less events, less bands. So staff is in favor of the Park District's proposal, but at this time, I'll just open it up to questions about the program and about any proposals, and we'll go from there.
Okay, well, I am going to make a motion to accept your report and recommendation regarding the Sounds of Summer to reduce from 4 to 2, as well as meet the cost-sharing request, though. Is there a second? And then I'll call the question, we can have discussion.
I'll second.
Thank you. On the question, Alderman Lewitton.
Jeff, if they're willing to pay for everything, why reduce it? Why reduce from 4 to 2 if they're going to pay everything?
Well, they're not going to pay everything. They still want us to cost share. So they still want us to participate in cost sharing. And their idea was because of the decreased attendance, they think if we lower back the amount of dates from 4 to 2 and make it more of a smaller scale event, they could actually increase the attendance at those 2 smaller scale events.
I thought I heard you say they were going to take over the entire planning, and isn't that where the
Yeah,
expense is?
well,
What is the remaining expense
Well, there's
then?
expenses to pay for the bands. The bands
Why
cost
are we
money.
paying for bands? Why don't we get people to volunteer in exchange for the advertisement of getting their name recognition out?
Well, I mean, we could do that if that's your recommendation. I can bring that back to them, but they're asking for
And
cost sharing
it's not
with
Prairie-
bands.
No, it's not Prairie Fest, but it's still use of bands, and my belief is that there's a lot of bands out here that like to make money playing in nightclubs, taverns, in the suburbs, and to get name recognition on a free advertising. Come out and see XYZ band. They're known for being in this place, that place. To get the exposure, a lot of them don't have a budget to pay for that advertising. They should kiss the Blarney Stone that you're here to give them free advertisement and perform for free.
Is that your final comment on that?
Well, it's not just a comment, it's a recommendation to be included, that they look for free entertainment.
Okay, typically, this is a joint effort with the Park District, and it's a mutual arrangement, and we've always supported bringing in the name bands for the summer series. And Mr. Murmas, and then I'm going to call Alderman Eugene Wesley. Mr.
Yeah,
Murmas?
I mean, it's a plausible scenario. I could mention that to them. I do want to mention, though, that this is just what they recommended, and staff tends to agree with their recommendation, but we can mention that scenario. And also, the Park District does, now, they don't give us any money for the Prairie Fest, but they do accommodate us with closing their pool parking lot, with helping us with the setup costs. Ray Chauncey from the Park District is heavily involved in the planning, helping us set everything up for Prairie Fest. So they do help us out with our main event, too. So there's some give and take.
Sure, and we're looking to bring some local talent into the Prairie Fest this year, correct?
Yeah, we can certainly look into that.
Okay. Alderman Eugene Wesley.
The only drawback I have in this is moving to a different location. I mean, I don't know where they said it's lower location. I think the reason why it looked like we had such a small turnout there is because the big field we had there. I think we got more people walking to this one than we're gonna get in Franzen Grove. I thought that was the reason why we moved it to Franzen Grove, for people could walk. I mean, here again, we're taking away from our downtown, while trying to develop downtown area, walking orientation, and we're moving it all the way back to Friends and Grove again. I mean, I just don't, and top the whole thing off, also White Cottage, people went in there, got dinner, then came out to the concert, got slices of pizzas. That was revenue for us for sales tax. I just don't see moving it back to Friends and Grove is going
Well,
benefit. We still paid it, I mean, I just can't do that.
Mr.
It
Murmas?
just their reasoning for moving it over to Franson Grove was to make it a smaller type, cozy feel, and with the acoustics over there, if we keep it at Town Square, the idea is that we have to get the stage again and get some sound set up over there. Or if it's smaller scale at Franson Grove, then you save money by not having to get the stage and all that stuff. That was the idea behind that.
Alderman Shockey?
I have to disagree a little bit because I think Franzen Grove is more a good place for a family type of concert series. And if we're talking especially about the idea of bringing in some unknown talent and so forth, we really don't draw from out of town for these concerts. I think it's mainly for in-town people. So I think that Franzen Grove is a good idea. The only thing I'd like to make sure is that we have a coordination between the Park District and Wooddale so that we don't have a conflict in different activities going on, that we know exactly when theirs is going to be, so we don't plan something at the same time.
Mr. Murmas?
Yeah, I mean, we would still have a liaison to the Park District to work on the, to make sure everything is going okay with the event, not to plan the event, but to maybe have input on bands and dates and things like that. But as far as planning, just turn it all over to them.
Yeah, I certainly support the request, and I'm pleased that the Park District wants to take on the entire planning, and so that's a relief there. And if they want to have it at Franzen Grove and they're going to do the planning, then I certainly support that as well. Plus, the cost is going to be less, so I believe that's an added benefit as well. Alderman Police?
Let's not forget that come Prairie Fest, we do use their pool parking lot and they shut down. Little intergovernmental cooperation will be nice here.
Any other comments? Alderman Lewitton?
I just think that Eugene Wesley's comment is very, very good. I like it, and I understand the constraint that you have. I just want to make sure you have the flexibility that if the first festival in Franzen Wood turns out to be too over subscribed for the size of it, that you have the flexibility to move it back for the second one.
I mean, if the Park District's planning it and they think that they're overcrowded over there, I mean, obviously, then they would probably come back to us and see if they can move it back to Town Square. So, I mean, it's not like this is a permanent thing, this is just something that we want to try to improve the event.
Any final question? Okay, there's a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is discussion of the liquor commissioner role. Mr. Murmas?
This item was requested to be placed on the agenda, and we incorporated the portion of the city code that deals with the liquor commissioner. And if anybody has any questions or discussion on the role of the liquor commissioner, I don't have a report, so it's just really a dialogue. I'm not sure if anybody has anything to say or not.
Are there any comments on this? Otherwise, I'm just gonna close out the discussion unless there's any statements. Okay, this item was open for discussion. There is no discussion. Next item is item number 9, items to be considered at future meetings. A, 2009 property tax levy for December 10. B is 5-year capital improvement plan for January 2010. Are there any other items for finance and administration? We did get the list of grants. I thank you, Mr. Wilson, for that. Alderman Roy Wesley.
I don't know if it falls under this or not. The ComEd, when we had a discussion about lights out, and we were paying $50 for each light that we have, we haven't had a report of how many lights are out, or are we still paying on that? I'd like to have a report on that, if we're still paying for the lights that are out at $50 a light in the city.
Yeah, we can get that to you. I think John Kramer actually keeps track of that with ComEd, so I'll get you that information in your packet.
Okay,
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Alderman Shockey. And then we'll come.
Along those same lines, we had just mentioned the idea, possible idea of solar-powered lights so that we wouldn't have to pay that $50 a month. I understand that you just change the batteries on them every 2 years. Have you had a chance to take a look at that at all?
I'm going to have to defer that to either Engineer Graff or John Kramer. We could look into that and give
Okay,
them
there
where
are
we're
a-
at with that
There are
report.
a lot of companies on the internet that have them, just that they don't give you the prices, and I think they're looking for cities or municipalities to ask for it, not an individual. So I couldn't really find out what they cost. But hearing the cost of what we have to pay, plus that $50 a month, that's something we might want to look into. Thank you.
And just one other thing before I recognize you, Mr. Wilson, that Mr. Murmas, that I'm not sure how the timing will work. So, if you can just work that in with your everything else you have going. So, will you have some time for it over the next couple months, or to delegate it out, or?
Yeah.
Okay, it'll be okay. Mr. Wilson.
I just wanted to make sure that we get the whistleblower policy out of the audit report on there for you guys.
Okay.
And we'll get a date for you as soon as we can. I'll talk to Ms. Jepson tomorrow and get that to you guys as soon as we can to get that squared up.
Okay, thank you. Any other items? I make a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Move.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll call the Public Works Committee order. Make the minute taker note that the same people are still present. I need a motion to approve the minutes, October 22nd, 2009. Questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Report and recommendation to Page County LA Discharge Detention Eliminating Ordinance. Dave, want to take us through that?
Sure. This is an ordinance that was passed by DuPage County. I'm talking about illicit discharge detection and elimination. And I guess the key points to mention here is we are talking about discharges into the storm sewer. This is not the sanitary sewer. It's illegal discharges into the storm sewer. The requirement for the county to pass this ordinance comes from the Clean Water Act and the Illinois EPA. It's been on the books for a while. The EPA's been cutting a lot of slack to the municipalities and giving them a few years to put this together. County staff thought it was in everyone's best interest to work with the municipalities and jointly go in on this rather than having every community develop their own ordinance. So the county went ahead and passed that last year. It's coming to you now a little bit later than when they passed it. The reason being, one item that the county's been going back and forth with on the EPA a little bit on is the question of car washes and automobile dealerships. If you read through the ordinance, the automobile dealership car washes are exempt from these regulations. The EPA didn't necessarily agree with that, so they went back and forth with the county for a while. Eventually, the county said, we can't wait to get this all resolved, so they passed the ordinance as is and asked the municipalities to adopt it as well, knowing that that particular item might be stricken at some point in the future. Part of the county ordinance, they're requiring all the municipalities in DuPage County to adopt a level of participation. Full participation by a community would be the
The county does the testing, the county does the tracing back to the source to find out who's doing the illicit discharge. They then turn it over to the municipality for